Welcome. We're meeting Tuesday, February 13th, so to discuss a forthcoming full moon in Virgo on February 25th. Now, as I do sometimes, we'll begin with a couple announcements. First of all, those who are going through it, me and my good friend, mentor, healer, teacher, Simone Randall, we're putting on a live Valentine's Day special workshop healing opportunity. Okay, so that's going to be tomorrow, the 14th, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. This is a paid event. I'll put information in the description. I don't know what to title it quite yet, but it's going to be something along the lines of protecting our individuality, liberation, and self-love for those who may be going through it. We're here for you on Valentine's Day 2024. Appropriately, a very windy day here in Asheville. Okay, second announcement is simply to explain my intention for this video. More in the thick of it, when this video is probably reaching you, I will be speaking more from that personal perspective. So for those who would really like to get a sense of the dates and the timing for this whole month of February, I recommend that you tune into my prior new moon in Aquarius video. I'll put another link in the video description, or you can go to my main channel. Check out that new moon video because I'm going to break down in that prior video much more objectively what I'm going to speak to from a much more subjective experience from this particular full moon video, because we're talking about this full moon in Virgo in the midst of this tremendous meltdown. And to be totally honest, tonight, when Mars exactly conjoins Pluto, so on the 13th, Mars-Pluto begins their new cycle. I'm speaking to you now when the moon is conjoined Chiron in Aries on the moon's north node, ruled by Mars, just entered Aquarius, now passing Pluto. Folks, today the 13th may actually be one of the most important days of the year. And this is why we're in the midst of this transformation. I mean, this meltdown. What I'm hearing, the most common feedback these days is actual overwhelm. I'm having a hard time breathing. I'm having a hard time looking forward. There's so much melting down. There's so much unknown, as everything that we thought we known is melting down to this huge mess. So let's understand that is where we should find ourselves in time. And this is a collective video. I will meet this forthcoming weekend on the 18th for our Q&A. That's where I speak to personal astrology. That's where I speak to y'all one-on-one. So this is collective astrology I'm speaking in these videos, putting out to thousands of people. This is what's going on to our whole species. And this full moon in Virgo can be very humbling. It can also be very grounding. It can bring us back to our senses. But January to February of 2024, these are incredibly overhaul months. And you've probably heard Chinese New Year of the Dragon and all of this absolutely is reflected in the Western zodiac in terms of what's going on in this year. Total transformation, overhaul. And we're just in the midst of it right now. So let me try to validate some of our experience, because this can affect our energy levels hugely. You may also see this reflected back from me. And by the way, I'm not just wearing these glasses because I'm stylish and one of the coolest OGs on the whole planet. They actually serve a pragmatic function. Here, try it out, Makes things a little bit brighter. We kind of need such magic in medicine these days, do we not? So, again, in the new moon video, I talk about how Mars goes into Aquarius on the 13th, passes Pluto on the 14th. Venus goes into Aquarius on the 16th, passes Pluto on the 17th. Mars and Venus are currently ruling our moon's nodes in the Aries-Libra polarity. So this is incredibly powerful, intense astrology where there's just a total transformation of our identity, of our direction, of what matters to us, our sense of motivation, our sense of passion. Tonight, Mars passes Pluto at the first degree of Aquarius. You also may have noticed I'm doing YouTube shorts now, so I'm talking more about what's going on in astrology day to day. And someone laughed because I posted yesterday, Mars, Pluto, this can be, a resetting of gender identity. And they're like, haha, what does that mean? Well, it can be a total redirection of passion, purpose, motivation, including sexual direction. But this goes to a much, much more fundamental level. These Mars-Pluto cycles are important Every 2 years, Mars joins Pluto. This one's especially special, joining Pluto at the first degree Aquarius here, February 2024. But anytime Mars and Pluto begin a new cycle together, as they do now, there is this melting down of the materials at hand, transforming these materials into the raw stuff. And that's why there can be such displacement, uncertainty, melting down, because there's this just working with the raw materials at hand. When this video is likely reaching you, we're in this quagmire in between death and birth. That's what an actual conjunction is like. We are going to start to really break open this next cycle towards the end of this month, particularly after Venus and Mars begin their new cycle at 6 degrees Aquarius on the 22nd. There is so much uncertainty and muck that we're swirling through. Old stories, old identities, past lifetimes, old outdated environments and relationships and ways of relating and ways of directing ourselves. This is about honoring our individual journey. That is what Mars is. Mars rules the first sign of the zodiac, Aries. What does Aries do? Cut the umbilical cord between us and our mother the day we are born. And why are we born? To have experience. In Eastern philosophy, we're said to be born via our carnal desires, and we take an incarnation. Well, Mars rules all carnal desires, and I'm encouraging us all to go to the carnival this year. What's the carnival for, other than satisfying your carnal desires? Who doesn't like a good carnival? Come on, folks, we're breaking out of the Victorian era. That's where we are collectively. So absolutely, again, a resetting of gender identity can even be in the works these days. But what we're talking about on the more fundamental level is Mars is the leading edge of our soul's evolution by acting on those desires. Why did we take an incarnation? What did we want to be and do as a child? Have we lost that sense of ambition and direction and passion? We very well could. With Chiron on the North Node, where our forthcoming eclipse will be in April, this is about healing the warrior. The motivation, the direction, the desire, who wants to go to the gym, who wants to skydive, who wants to travel as an individual because we want to do it. It's not because other people are wanting to do it. My goodness, are we looking at the shadow of codependency this year? Are we not? That's why now through springtime, I'm heralding a season of separations. And this separation may be necessary for the healing of our own autonomy. We need enough freedom to honor our soul's passions. And again, these passions and directions may be finding themselves anew at this time. So we're experiencing huge energy flux in mid-February. Might be huge spikes of energy, reactions, huge reactions. We're dealing with the theme of anger and passion. And why? What is that anger protecting? What needs to be set free? What is that passion lighting that needs to be set aflame? How can we protect that flame? How can we honor that flame? How can we hone that flame to be as specifically the best that it could possibly be? You see, January had a new moon in Capricorn, followed by a full moon in Leo. Powerful month, and oh my God, like big energy. Like, let's change the world. Let's take on the world. And then all of this overall happens. The atom bombs are being dropped these days. And it's like, oh my gosh, everything's melting down. I can't even recognize myself, who I am, what I want to do. So again, that's where we find ourselves right now. And February begins with this new moon in Aquarius, followed by a full moon in Virgo on the 24th. And again, the Virgo full moon can be much more humbling. It can bring us back to earth, back to our senses, and back to our place, to be honest. Not to say that in a mean put-down type of way, but yeah, we're kind of being shown more of our place. Virgo is our focus. And Virgo brings necessary focus to where work needs to be done or where healing needs to occur. So pain is not what anyone should experience. I'm not a pain person. I don't say like, hey, you should be, walking on coals and eating glass to evolve your soul the way a lot of people here in Asheville are into this performance spirituality bullshit. No. What is our function in the greater whole? How do we honor the individuality that we're born into in a way that can be helpful and useful to others? And where are we hitting the nail on the head? And where are we missing the target? Because with Virgo, we always need to remind ourselves it's not failure, it's feedback. And how can we improve this relationship between how we're living, our body, this earth? So Virgo brings us focus. And sometimes there may be pain, like if you break a bone. That's not like a punishment from God. That's our body saying, hey, don't move that broken arm. You need to put that arm in a brace. You need to go to the hospital right away. This is how you save yourself from having a deformed arm for the rest of our life. If we didn't feel that pain, no attention would be brought to that broken bone. We may not even notice, and, we'd just be destroying ourselves all the time. So the point is, this is redirecting our focus in a way which may be humbling, which may bring us down to earth, but this can also be very positively generative. And I'll be totally honest, this is not too bad of an aspected full moon, considering the timing and the greater scheme of things. There's some good fortune here, such as our moon being trine to Jupiter. What resources do we need? And how can we focus on the less is more? And how can we wear a pair of sunny shades that can change our perspective when a little tiny thing can make a world of difference? It's a bit of a heavier full moon, a bit of a scrutinizing full moon. We can be getting feedback that can be quite humbling. Hey, do you know your place? Do you know the actual effect that you've had on others? And it's also a time of really taking our place in the whole, the cosmos, Pisces, more seriously. What is our devotional service? How are we keeping ourselves not just physically healthy, but also spiritually healthy? I mentioned in the last video, I wasn't feeling so heart-centered as Venus squared the moon's nodes, again, a reflection of the collective transit. But I want to let you all know that was a temporary transit, and I keep my heart routinely broken. That's a part of keeping myself centered and online, so no worries about me, and I hope that you also are keeping centered in your truth. The relationship between the small me, Virgo, what function we're born into. I'm a gardener. I'm an astrologer. I love plants. I'm interested in these things. There's this opportunity here to connect the small and the cosmic. Each of us has their own devotional practice or meditative practice or yogic practice. And more words are needed here because the spiritual communities get so biased as if there is only one practice. I like when Ram Dass said, your road to enlightenment could be knitting. That's a very full moon in Virgo, opposite Sun, Mercury, Saturn, and Pisces reality. What may fill us up, tune us in, give us this great sense of meaning, as well as what may bring us into an alignment and focus with our healing role. What really allows us to be of maximum benefit to others may start small, may carry huge reverberations. This is also a time where we have to be extraordinarily gentle to ourselves and others because there's so much overhaul. This full moon is still timed during the Venus-Mars-Pluto conjunction in early degrees of Aquarius. There's still so much uncertainty. As much as this full moon may bring a little bit more clarity, I think that February 2024, it's almost like nobody can know. And folks, if you're going through it, just know you're alive. Not everybody is a 12th house Pisces soul. Not everyone's affected as much by the collective. But if you're alive right now, my guess is you're experiencing some of this overhaul, meltdown, and changing of pace, cycles, reality, you could say. So again, the change is so vast, so deep, and so cosmological. I could take this into so many unlimited directions. There's almost no point. But I want to speak to you. Again, I am here for you and available. So again, if you're sad on Valentine's Day, check out me and Simone's workshop. Link in the video description below. If you happen to miss that, I'll be available on the Q&A this forthcoming weekend, the 18th. And if you miss that, the Q&A meets monthly. Folks, I am here for you. We are in this together. Okay, keep yourself breathing, keep yourself cool, keep your sunny shades well positioned on your beautiful face, because it's going to stay bumpy, through the beginning of March. It's Mercury square Uranus this weekend into next week. That'll be exact the 16th. Venus and Mars will square Uranus the second week of March. I think one of the best ways to handle these times is to experiment. Again, we want to fire lots of arrows at the target, and we want some of those arrows to hit the target. We want some of those arrows to miss the target because it is not failure, it is feedback, and we're taking notes. And we're doing huge adjustments. I mean, that's the thing. This full moon, when we look at the whole of the chart, says fundamental adjustment. There can also be a returning to our humanity, or returning to ourself, an understanding of, again, the relationship between the small and the vaster, cosmological, what we can do, like knitting, that fills us up with a sense of purpose and being connected to something bigger than just ourself. That is the basement meaning that Saturn in Pisces is searching for. But if this full moon is a little bit depressing, if it's a little bit heavy, if we're getting critical feedback reflected back from others, it's because this Saturn in Pisces wants to really get in tune with reality and make our dreams real. So we have to measure, Virgo, the distance between our reality, Virgo, and our dreams, Pisces. Because Saturn in Pisces is like, okay, can't just dream anymore. Can't just like pretend that the future is going to be totally different if we're not making the steps to get there, putting in the conscious effort, lining those things up, connecting the dots. This is going to be a full moon that's going to put a lot of pressure and excitement on us to do so. And it may not be totally certain. There has to be this experimental trying again. And you got knocked off your horse, so get back on. And you got knocked off your horse, get back on. This can be tremendously frustrating. This can bring up so much anger, even on deep existential levels. Lord knows I don't always voluntarily share how much I'm screaming at God sometimes, like, fucking change this. Are you serious? You bring me here with all these awareness and all these gifts, and then it ends up being like this year after year after year. Are you fucking serious? So yeah, sometimes it do get like that. And you know what that is? That's real life. That's being a real human being. That's honoring the actual human experience, and that is how we truly pray. We pray by being totally honest and vulnerable and releasing our human struggle and pleading, or at least calling out. And that's real prayer. So some of us are going to be brought to our knees on this Virgo full moon. And even that we don't want to see as failure, as punishment. That may be bringing us back to our place. That may be bringing us back to an alignment with what brings us into the correct healthy resources. What do we call upon in order to bring those resources in? What do we focus on in order to get one baby step after the next? It may be way too much to have the whole thing planned out right now. So we take it one step at a time. Today it'll be my yellow sunglasses. Tomorrow it's going to be chocolate milk. And the next day maybe it'll be slippers. But you got to have something to look forward to. You got to have something to lift yourself up. You've got to have a role and service in the world. Because if we're all just trying to vacation or take time off, you'll also get depressed. I see some of my spoiled, comrades out here, and I feel bad for them sometimes. Because it's just like you haven't had enough hardness in your life to get to a healthy service or role. If we're just living this constant vacation, constantly freeloading, constantly having things given, what can you give back to others? So if you're brought down to your knees again, don't extra flagellate yourself on top of that. It's already enough what we're already going through. Be very empty of expectation. Be very empty of the need to know the totality. There can be so much divine humor, which is really beyond our human capacity to comprehend. So we don't even pretend or toy with it, but just embrace that potential and that openness to bring us into a clearer, more concrete relationship, reality to the greater whole. Again, me and my good friend, mentor, teacher, Simone Randall, she's a metaphysician. She's a hands-on healer, long-distance healer. I don't know what the words are, but the point is we have both learned from our lived experience. We are healers coming out of the quagmires we were born into, and that's what makes our work together so special and powerful. This is also going to be fun and experimental for me and Simone, as it's the first time we're testing out this type of hands-on, person-to-person collaborative healing. So again, that's going to be part workshop, but we're also going to meet with you all one-on-one in the actual meeting. So there's going to be a support group type of environment. We'll speak to the group, we'll speak to each one-on-one, we'll get a sense of what's going on in your life, and we want you to leave this workshop healing on V-Day feeling very hands full. All right, that's the best I got. Get some of these on your face. We'll sign off with this. Ah, that's better.